Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm your host, Jeff Iafrate. Alongside me, my guy, Sam Flannel, in the booth, back hopefully the rest of this week. JB, happy to have him back as well for a full week. Gabby D. Phillips, as usual. And in the booth, we have Alex Westfall and Lucas Klotz holding things down on the ones and twos. But we have a great show planned for you guys. It's Tuesday. A lot of football to talk about, a little bit of NBA later in the show. I want to start off and kind of discuss a lot of what's happening lately in the NFL, which is really the biggest news right now. And that's the fact that Saquon, Josh Jacobs, these guys aren't getting contract extensions. They're getting franchise tags, Sam. And it kind of shows, if anything, how devalued the running back position is. And it speaks volumes at this point. And we've known it's been trending this way, but we're here.
I mean, when you look at even recent running back history, it can be a guy like Tyler Algier, who wasn't even really a highly coveted prospect, and he comes in, gets 1,000 yards his rookie year. Damian Pierce, another one for Houston. He would have got 1,000 yards if he didn't get hurt later on in the season. You even look back to guys like Alfred Morris. Remember Alfred Morris, that running back for Washington about 10 years ago? He got 1,000 yards his rookie year. I mean, Kareem Hunt's another one, came right in. And then you look at guys like Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, Zeke Elliott, guys who would later go on to be elite, but they had arguably some of their best seasons on their rookie years on rookie contracts. And the history shows that Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, when you look at recent running back history, they are probably on the downswing of their career. I mean, do you think that's fair at this point, at least going by recent running back history? So I don't know. At this point, it might not be a good idea to give them long-term contracts. It's sad because Saquon Barkley is one of the most talented running backs I've ever seen, and Josh Jacobs just came off a season where he led the NFL in rushing. But right now, they're so devalued that they're getting franchise tagged. It's sad, but it's kind of reality right now, as much as I hate to say it.
I think the biggest eye-opener to me, Sam, was the Giants, and you saw the success, or the semi-success the Giants had. They won a playoff game.
Sure.
They beat the fraudulent Vikings. But what spoke volumes to me is the Giants had the season they had. Yeah. Daniel Jones, for as much as people love him, and I can see why to some extent, there's some things you like about Daniel Jones. The fact of the matter is, the data says, he's mid. 15 touchdown passes, but he gets $40 million, Sam.
Yeah.
And then you have Saquon Barkley, who I would say, and I would make the argument, he is accredited for most of what the Giants did this season on offense. You notice when Saquon was stopped or struggled, typically the Giants didn't have success. When Saquon played really well, it equated to success. Yeah. But somehow Daniel gets his $40 million over 4 years, 4 for 160, and Saquon now is reportedly not showing up for training camp. So this is the problem I have, and I agree to some extent that the running back position has been devalued. I think the biggest, the best data point for that is look at all the, at least in recent history, Super Bowl winners. Tell me their leading rusher. And that's the best argument. Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs.
Isaiah Pacheco.
7th-round pick. But also you had Patrick Mahomes. But the other part is, yes, Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-round pick. But then there's running backs, Sam, that I think are the exception. There's running backs that are historically great, which, Zeke at the time might have been one of those guys. You look back and think, man, they screwed up with that contract. Clearly they let go of Zeke, so they realized they screwed up. But Saquon, to me, even coming off of that ankle injury, he's still Saquon Barkley.
Sure.
Like, he still is a big reason why the Giants had any success. And listen, maybe this is telling me, if anything, the Giants believe in Daniel. Hey, that's on you. It ain't on me. You believe in Daniel Jones. You choose him over Saquon Barkley. You got to live with that. But at the same time, to me, I don't think all running backs deserve this type of treatment. I think, for guys that you think are replaceable, fair. But if you're talking one of the better backs in the NFL, Sam, who, in my opinion, still has a ton of shelf life left, I don't think this should apply to Saquon Barkley. I wouldn't play games like this, but hey, here we are. Derrick Henry's tweeting out the running back position should be taken out of the game. Like, this is where we're at. Other running backs are frustrated, and I think rightfully so at this point. Not for the guys that are 30 plus, kind of going over that hill. That's fine. But guys that are, still younger, at least in their prime, and they're still elite, I don't get why those guys aren't getting contracts. That's my problem. When you think of the Giants right now, who do you think of?
I think of Saquon Barkley.
That's my point.
And I would argue that Saquon Barkley having the best season of his career in a contract year, albeit, really was more beneficial to Daniel Jones than Daniel Jones was to Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
I mean, like the reality of the situation is it shows how much value the quarterback position has in terms of what they get paid and how much value the running back position has, because Daniel Jones, I would say, is somewhere between the 17th to 23rd best quarterback in the NFL, something like that. I think he stinks. I think he's mid. I think the idea that his breakout season, he had 15 touchdown passes and it earned him a $40 million a year contract is absurd. It's asinine, assa 10, assa 11. I think I heard that from, what was that, from one of the shows back in the day, one of those like debate shows. But at the same time, and Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the league and he can't even get a deal. But as I said before, he might not have that many good years left in him. I mean, I think he has a couple, but you look at guys like Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott, for example. Todd Gurley in 2018 was probably the best running back in the league. 2019, he falls off. 2020, he goes to the Falcons. 2021, he's basically finished at 26. And even you look at Ezekiel Elliott, his first 3 seasons in the NFL, he leads every single year in rushing yards per game. The next year, he has 1,350. And then the next 3 years, he only has one 1,000-yard season out of 3. It's the sad reality of being a running back right now. And I'll tell you what, I don't have good athletic genes, so this would never happen. But if I had a son who was coming up and wanting to play football, I would actively discourage him from playing running back.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at this point, what's the point?
Especially, I mean, financially, you look at the benefits. Well, you know, once you, like Dalvin Cook's a perfect example,
Yeah.
Still semi in his prime, came off 1,000 yards last season, free agent.
Yeah.
Vikings had no problem cutting him. Saquon Barkley, one of the best backs, at least, and you said this earlier, and I agree with you, one of the most talented backs I've ever witnessed with my own 2 eyeballs. They didn't come to an agreement with a deal. Like, even for the best running backs in the NFL, these contracts aren't coming to them, and for whatever reason. And if you're going to tell your kid not to play running back, I think that's smart. I mean, you see it right now in the NFL. Although we don't agree it should be this way, it is this way. And I think what helps running backs now and what running backs have to be able to do, and you see this with now Jahmyr Gibbs, you have to essentially just be an offensive weapon. You got to be as valuable as you are running the football, catching the football. And that's where guys can make their money. Christian McCaffrey, for example, even though he's been injured, guy still gets his bag because of why? He's a 1,000 guy.
Yes,
he can do that on a yearly basis. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, that's where his value comes in, the receiving side of things. And I think Saquon Barkley, for as talented as he is, kind of an underrated receiver too. He's not too bad catching footballs out of the backfield. So I think for guys that are one-dimensional, I understand to some extent. But if you have offensive weapons, I think that's what helps these guys. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs, that's where he'll be separated. Because Saquon last year, coming off an ACL, 1,300 yards, but 295 carries. So it's crazy to think about that too. Will Jahmyr Gibbs ever have almost 300 carries?
Probably not.
No. His money will be made in the receiving side of things as well. So I think, at least for this running back conversation, Jahmyr, although he does play running back and although he can be banged up, what helps him is he can catch the football and line up a receiver. I think that benefits him as well.
Well, that's why it might benefit Jahmyr Gibbs down the road. I'm not necessarily saying his rookie year or at the beginning of his career. If he at one point has the usage, like, say, I believe it was 2019 Austin Eckler, where he had almost 1,000 receiving yards, but only like 550 rushing yards or something like that. I think that as his career goes along, he might be a guy that you could actually line up more at wide receiver than running back.
Right.
And that might be something that extends his career and makes him more valuable, especially seeing what he can do in space. And I think he will show that in his NFL career, because if you are one of those between the tackles, every down running back, it looks to me right now that once your contract is over, you're basically going to be franchise tag, not get the long-term deal you want, maybe get a deal where you have to take less money, a la what I think Dalvin Cook will eventually get. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think that maybe the Detroit Lions, not to bring this up, should have just waited and signed Dalvin Cook for cheaper instead of a guy like David Montgomery. That would have made me very, very happy. But that's just but at the same time, nobody could even fathom that Dalvin Cook would be struggling to get on a team. But he's a running back. He's a running back who's had some injury issues, not so much lately, but he's got about 6 years of tread on the tire. And I think people are a little bit gun shy when it comes to running backs. And I don't even necessarily blame people. Like I said earlier, you see how quickly some of these running backs go from being stars to like out of the league, a la Todd Gurley. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's not out of the league yet, but he has certainly fallen off. It happens all the time. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah, Zeke, just to think what Zeke is now to what he was, roughly 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years ago at least, or 4 years ago, you should say, 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns, and look where he is now, a free agent.
Yep.
Like, this is the reality of the NFL. But, JB, what do you think? Saquon Barkley, not even just Saquon, but Josh Jacobs, the whole running back position being devalued. What are your thoughts on that? The Giants keeping Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley.
That's kind of tough right there. The Giants keeping Daniel Jones over Saquon. Come on, that's your star bell cow back right there. You at least need to pay him. And this is a good rule for the rest of the NFL teams who are probably playing it smart right now. Pay your QB early so you don't have to deal with this problem right now. I mean, hell, Josh Jacobs was literally in his car with Max Crosby at the facility ready to go in and sign once his agent called him and said, hey, we got a deal done. Obviously that didn't happen, so now he's just waiting it out. And it's kind of sad. I mean, I know most of these guys probably don't want to be in minicamp right now. They'd much rather be relaxing, getting their body ready for the regular season, but you kind of still need that teamwork, that togetherness to be involved in these offenses. So it's sad to see, and I think that Saquon will eventually get a deal done, but it'll be probably closer to the season, whereas Josh Jacobs, I think he actually might end up sitting out.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be shocked either. You're coming off, you're leading the league in rushing yards, and you don't get a contract. I mean, but again, Le'Veon Bell just came out and apologized and said, I never should have sat out for the Steelers. Look how that turned out for him.
Yeah.
I mean, remember Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah.
Even years ago, coming off the season he had, sitting out, and now he's at home rapping.
Yep.
So, like, this is where we're at.
What would it take for that to change, though?
That's a great question because I don't know. Like, at least for running backs, and this is be a good question I would want to ask Brad Holmes is, like, does this make you second think a little bit, taking Jameer at 12? Or is Jameer separate from the equation? Does he not look at Jameer like, a Josh Jacobs or Saquon? Maybe he's just a weapon in general. But this is a question I would like to ask Brad Holmes because that was the biggest thing after Jameer was taken is, Brad took a running back at 12? Not just a running back, though. Bijan, a bell cow back, and he was arguably the best back in college last year. So that makes sense. But for Jameer, there was concern there. But again, like I said, I think Jameer is a little different because he's just as good of a receiver as he is a running back.
Yeah.
So at least he has that going for him.
He has that going for him, and he definitely has to show that skill set and put it all on display for it to be worth the pick because the reality is, and I've actually been saying this for years, is that the NFL running back takes so much punishment. It's absurd. I mean, one of your jobs as a running back, especially if you're a guy like Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs last year who gets the majority of the usage, your job is to basically get pounded about 20 to 25 times a game. That's just the reality of the situation. As a wide receiver, you play more in space. As an O-line, D-line guy, you're kind of more in the trenches. But as a running back, you're going to get the defensive lineman's best shot, maybe the safety's best shot, the linebacker's best shot, almost every single time you carry the ball. And it's tough to last. I mean, you even look at old school running backs like Earl Campbell, for example. He came out of the gate just swinging. He was one of the best running backs, had one of the greatest starts to a career ever, and he dished out a lot of punishment, but he also took a lot of punishment as well. And his career was basically over after like 6 or 7 years. And now he has basically debilitating injuries that have basically robbed him of a lot of his mobility. I don't know if there is a way to change it because you just take so much punishment. It's absurd. I mean, the human body is not meant to withstand that.
No, it's about what you would say 20 car crashes a game.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're getting 20 carries, you're essentially getting 20 car accidents every time you get hit. Now, the other ironic part of this is while everybody else is figuring out contracts, Jameer signed his contract yesterday. So just ironically enough there, he got his deal. Even though it's a rookie contract, no one else is signing their deal. So later in the show, though, I do want to get next topic at least. Peter Schrager, Brad Holmes sat down with him last week, but some things are coming out now about him providing context to that Jared Goff trade, and I want to get into the details of that as well. And again, quickly, thank you guys for tuning in. I want to get to some of these people that are joining us this morning. Lucian, always in the chat as well. Steve Brown, Ransom, Mason's here, Joel Dyer, Philip C. as always. That guy 62. Again, guys, appreciate all you guys. Parker Brown from Woodward Sports is in the chat as well. John Lord, Ryan's reactions. And I think Funky's in here as well. Thank you to every single one of you. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll go to break. When we get back, like I said, we'll get into this Peter Schrager, Jared Goff, Brad Holmes discussion here, and you get to hear what Brad talked about with the trade involving Matthew Stafford, and he gives some details of that trade, and it's good to revisit it. So we'll react to that. But before we do that, Gabby, could you tell everybody about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Of course I can. Go on down to Randy Wise right now and make the wise choice for your vehicle. And you can also check out on woodwardsports.com the first episode of the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. And if you go down to a Randy Wise location, be sure to let them know that you want to enter for the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour contest, where you can win the opportunity to go to one of Michigan's finest courses and have a great dinner provided by Fairway Packing. Get down to Randy Wise now.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Well, I remember when we were hammering out the details of the trade. Because it was kind of that carousel of available quarterbacks that year in terms of like who was going to be available. So obviously, Stafford was getting traded to the Rams. But I never forget Les asked me. He was like, "Do you want Jared in this trade?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like absolutely. Like it wasn't like, just give me any quarterback. No, I was like, no, I want Jared in this trade. He has like top level elite mental toughness, because I've seen a lot of things that he's been through. Like I'm talking about that NFC Championship game versus New Orleans. Like people don't talk about like the noise that he had to deal with and all that stuff. But he goes through that 21 season and he does not complain. He does not about this and that and that. He just goes through it. And it starts coming together late in the season. And then, he has a year that he had last year. And now it's like, oh, Jared Goff's good. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Well, he's actually always been good. Yeah. But everybody, like I talk about the psychology of the process, it's the recency bias. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, the last thing we saw is Jared Goff got casted off, so he can't play anymore. And the last thing we saw is him in 2021, so he can't play anymore, right? Like, I'm like, no, he can play. So when he had the season he had last year, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, Jared Goff." And I'm like, no, he's always been a good quarterback. He's always been uber talented. He's always had those traits.
There you have it. There's Brad Holmes commenting on Jared Goff via Peter Schrager's interview. You can go check that out. Peter Schrager's podcast. It's really good, by the way. Interviews a ton of guests. But we're back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz in the booth. And again, there you have it. He's high on Jared. He's always been high on Jared. But to think about that for a second, too, Les Snead just casually saying, "Hey, you want Jared?" Like Jared's just some chump change. It's like, hey, by the way, you reach into my back pocket. Yeah, you want Jared Goff, by the way? You want me to throw him in the trade deal? Yeah, I want Jared Goff. That's fine.
Yeah, I want Jared
Goff. It's funny, too, because that list that came out yesterday, I believe it was, the quarterbacks ranked, according to executives, scouts, players, coaches. What do you think Brad submitted his ballot? He probably submitted Jared as like a top 10 quarterback, and everyone was like, "Who's gonna tell them? Who's gonna tell Brad he ain't a top 10?" Everybody else puts him, 13. But what do you think when you first hear that? Clearly, Brad's high on Jared Goff, but we've known that.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of reminds me of when I heard about the trade, my personal feelings is that as much as Jared Goff, we all know he kind of is what he is. He's very, very good. He had some individual success in Los Angeles, and he had some team success in Los Angeles with him as the quarterback. He kind of just is what he is. But at the same time, when the Lions got rid of Stafford, I thought when I found out that Jared Goff was going to be included, I'm like, okay, at least the Lions are getting a capable, competent NFL quarterback in return. And I'm not so sure that just any old quarterback could have done what Jared Goff did last season, in which he threw 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I'm not saying that his job was like he was the complete driving force in it, but he had the best year of his career with the Lions, surrounded obviously by a very, very good offensive line and some weapons, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the likes. But this idea that Jared Goff, nobody thinks he's elite, but this idea that he was just kind of a throw-in at any point is just that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
because
I
I mean, in 2017 and 2018, after a terrible rookie season, Jared Goff's trajectory was looking like it was going to go up.
Oh, he got paid.
He did, and obviously 2019 and 2020 weren't so great, and even in the beginning of 2021, I think a lot of people were just like, "Oh my God, what did we just do with Jared Goff? He looked terrible." But we all know the situation wasn't right for him. But once Ben Johnson came in, was elevated to passing game coordinator, and Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson were both kind of calling plays together and working on the offense together, Jared Goff absolutely blossomed and really hasn't turned back since. So I think that Brad Holmes knew what he was doing when he wanted Jared Goff. I think he understood that Jared Goff is, at the very least, a good quarterback who has had success, whose teams has had success with him as the quarterback. And I love to get into the mind of Brad Holmes, because it just kind of confirms everything that we already know, that he wanted Jared Goff specifically.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're all simps for Brad Holmes. The guy knows football. He's super intelligent, and he's very calculated. And one thing that not all rebuilds get the benefit of, or retools, whatever you want to call it, is getting a quarterback that you might not call a franchise quarterback, but again, middle of the pack quarterback who can win playoff games, can have success to some extent. We know Jared's done it. So the Lions are very lucky to get a guy like Jared Goff in that deal. Typically when teams trade away their guy, you look at Russell Wilson in Seattle. They trade him to Denver, and they got Drew Lock back. And they got picks, but typically you don't just get a guy like Jared thrown in that deal to help sustain, or at least hold down the quarterback position until you figure it out. Say what you want about Jared Goff. If you believe he's top 10, if you believe he's not, the fact of the matter is Lions are very lucky to have Jared Goff, Lucas.
They are very lucky to have Jared Goff. And the thing is Jared Goff didn't work. It would have worked out even better for the Lions' long-term sake, because Jared Goff comes, and then we go 3-13, and we're like, yeah, we don't want Jared Goff. Okay, now you got a top 5 draft pick, and you take your quarterback. That's what Brad was doing this whole time. It was either Jared Goff's going to work, which he did, or we draft a quarterback, which we happened to do as well. So this worked out perfectly. Jared Goff, when I first knew that we were going to get Jared Goff, I knew he wasn't going to be anything crazy. But at the same time, I knew if we surrounded him with weapons, he was going to do what he did within LA. And that was at the peak point where it's like, this is the pinnacle. And I think Brad Holmes, honestly, has gotten the pinnacle out of this trade.
And I think at this point, too, Gabby, I don't think Jared Goff, at least when you hear the interview, you think of him as, well, Jared was just kind of thrown in. No, clearly Brad wanted Jared. Clearly there was a liking there. And Brad saw, hey, while we figure this thing out, while we rebuild this roster, we have stability at quarterback. And if anything, that's all you can ask for in a rebuild.
Brad Holmes has been Jared Goff's biggest backer since day one, and I think this goes hand in hand with that. But what I want to know is, what's Jared Goff's reaction to this and this thrown in language, and what was his awareness of this going into the trade and coming to Detroit? Did he know that he was kind of just a last minute kind of afterthought?
You know what? He might, knowing Jared, at least from what I've seen, and you've been up close with Jared, I just don't think he cares.
No.
I really don't think. I think he looks at this.
Burnt out.
Yeah, he was the quarterback in L.A. and Los Angeles, which, again, talk about scrutiny. He faced all of it, especially for the Rams, who made the Super Bowl, and then the seasons he's had after the Super Bowl. I think at this point, Jared's just happy to be in a different city across the country.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. What about you, JB? What do you think? Jared Goff, at least at this point, how lucky are the Lions? Because you look back, and I think Lucas said it perfectly. You get a quarterback who, if he doesn't play well, you find a new one. But there also is a win-win where he plays well, but you still are able to draft your next potential franchise quarterback in Hendon Hooker. I think Jared Goff right now, whether they extend him or not, I think it's a great situation to have. He could be like your Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's pretty nice too. He is in a nice situation, and to compliment Lucas and Gabby's thoughts as well too, Brad Holmes is out here playing chess while all these other GMs are just playing checkers right now. He's thinking 2 steps ahead, And that was perfect the way Lucas put it as well too. You bring Jared Goff over here. You know, you're not sure what you have in him, but you do believe that if you surround him with weapons, he can be great. And that's what he sees in him. I mean, we might not be able to see it fully, but he sees something in him. And, hey, if it doesn't work out, guess what? You draft your backup quarterback, and then you put him on, too, which they have a backup quarterback, and they're slowly bringing him on as well, too. So I think this is a perfect fit. And just to think that, hey, you just thrown Jared Goff into this deal like it was a brand new air freshener for your car or something, or a full tank of gas from the dealership. Like, come on, how are you going to do that? That's a little disrespectful to the guys.
I know. They treat golf like a lotto ticket and like a birthday gift. Like, hey, I got you a little lotto ticket on top of what I got you. Just,
Here's
just
a little
to sweeten it up a little
$10
bit.
Like an iTunes gift card back in the day.
Not the iTunes gift card. John says, shout out to the Doc for joining the show. We got to get the Doc on actually soon, so
Yes.
clear your schedule, Doc. We got to get you on soon.
Please.
He says McVay basically stopped communicating with Goff and shipped him off. Goff is like St. Brown and using it as motivation. He also says, Jeff, I asked Jared when he first came to town if he would use this as a chip on his shoulder since he was included in this trade. Of course, he wants to prove Sean McVay wrong. And at least for Goff, too, every player is going to use something as motivation. So I think there's part that is partially true. Because, you know, Jared Goff can talk to the media and say, like, listen, I don't care about any of that stuff. But there's no way you don't at least sit there and think. You sit home and you watch Matthew Stafford go to the team you played for, with the coach you played for, in the city you played in, and go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Something that you couldn't do. That has to eat at Jared. But if anything, I think it just motivates Jared even more because, like you've said multiple times, Sam, on this show, last season was one of Jared Goff's best seasons of his career. I would argue best season of his career. And the funny thing, too, is this is a very complicated situation when it comes to the trade because we all kind of talk about how it was disrespectful for the Rams to kind of treat Jared Goff as a throw-in. But at the same time, what happened when they got Matthew Stafford? I know I kind of say it ad nauseum and people are tired of hearing it, but Sean McVay and Les Snead, they were ultimately proven right, at least in the short term. If you can get a Super Bowl, that is, I mean, if the Lions won the Super Bowl, would you really care if they had losing seasons afterwards and had to blow it up? No, they went all in and they cashed one in, and that is all well and good. And just think about the 2021 season overall, and I think this shows Jared Goff's kind of resilience and mental toughness. The Detroit Lions that year were 3-13-1. The Los Angeles Rams, the team that just traded him, won the Super Bowl. The Rams were celebrating Super Bowls. The Lions were celebrating winning that first game versus the Minnesota Vikings like they had just won a Super Bowl. It's just crazy how different those situations were. But obviously in 2022, the Lions bounced back. They had a winning season. Jared Goff threw 29 touchdowns, 7 picks, had the best season of his life. Matthew Stafford got hurt for Los Angeles. And the trajectory of their respective franchises, I think the Lions are going this way and the Rams are kind of going that way at this point. So at the end of the day, you might look back at this as even though the Rams won a Super Bowl, that the Lions could ultimately end up winning that trade, like undisputedly. Well, I would make the argument you play to win.
Sure.
So it's tough because I 100% agree with what you're saying. I think for longevity, the Lions might have, you know, a window where for a 5-10 year period they're relevant. But if you don't win a Super Bowl, Sam, I would still say it's the Rams who won that trade.
I 1000% agree. But I also think, would it shock you if the Lions won a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years?
I can't believe I'm saying it. Maybe this goes back to the Stoke not scared thing.
Right.
Maybe I am a little scared. But regardless, you're onto something, Sam. You're not crazy.
I think that they're going to have at least 3 to 5 cracks at it where they could legitimately make the playoffs, win divisions, and once you get in there, I mean, you have a chance. No matter what. Thank you. And especially if you win the NFC North a couple of times, which looks like it's going to be the Lions division for the taking, at least in the near future to maybe even the near to distant future. So if they can continue to rack up division titles, I like their chances to cash one in at some point. No guarantees, but I agree with you. They have to win a Super Bowl in order to win the trade or even tie the trade.
And to win a Super Bowl, you might have to go through Mahomes. So let's just focus on Week 1.
Or Burrow. Burrow.
I was about to say might. I would go with Will.
Will. Okay. Well, regardless, Week 1. Eyes are all on Week 1.
Yes.
Let's see how the Lions match up.
Yeah.
We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to check out this top 10 rankings according to, again, it's executives, coaches, scouts. and players ranked top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. And we'll see how Brad's optimism lines up with the rankings. We'll see if they coincide here. But before we go to break, Sam, can you tell everybody where they can get the best workout?
Oh, absolutely. And if you want to be like,
Oh,
like myself, you know what? I actually went to the gym last night, the Planet Fitness, and I got a nice pump going right now. You see that?
What'd you hit, Flannel?
Oh, I mean, I did arms. I did
There
like
we
arms
go.
and shoulders
Arm
and everything.
day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because no, I'm kidding. I don't got chicken legs. I work out everything. But anywho, this isn't about me. This is about Planet Fitness as an institution. And Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes, and a 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You can get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Essential!
Yes.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Outdoor Equipment Company. Your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Still, and more. Servicing the Great Lakes regions with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equip Co., your power equipment playground. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Jeff Iafrate,
Yes.
Sam Flannel, JV, Gavin D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. See, I had to build it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Get the juices flowing this morning. We just got done talking about Brad Holmes, his comments on Jared, talking to Peter Schrager. Now I want to see how those comments line up with this ranking list. And Lucas, you have the graphics. This is, again, I want to make sure we get this clear. It's executives, coaches, scouts, rank NFL's top 10 quarterbacks for 2023. So part of this is a projection, but this is what we have so far. Lucas, you want to go ahead and read them off for me?
Yeah, so number one, this is just the top 5. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, of course, is Joe Burrow. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. And number 5, Justin Herbert. So that's just the first one. So, and then we got the bottom 5. This comes in, this is a little painful to watch, especially the number 9 spot. Number 6, Jalen Hurts. Number 7, Lamar Jackson. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. Number 9, Dak Prescott.
Oh, jeez.
And number 10, Matthew fucking Stafford.
No.
So, I'm going to try to make sense of this because before we get into the reactions, because just don't worry, we're getting Aaron Rodgers very soon, Sam Flannel, and Dak Prescott.
And Matthew Stafford.
You're right, to be honest with you. I want to try and make sense of why these quarterbacks are ranked where they're ranked. And my best guess, Sam, would be if you're asking executives, coaches, scouts, players, typically those guys aren't on Pro Football, looking up stats and breaking down the numbers and looking at 2023 or 2022, 2021, look at how their career. It's the eyeball test. You're just, hey, who's the best quarterbacks? Well, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks, so that's why he's in that list. Now, if you're stat watching, you'd know that Dak Prescott's, coming off last year, he's not top 10. He led the league in interceptions. There's no argument for him there. But again, the eyeball test, well, I remember Dak Prescott, he has the numbers typically on a year-to-year basis, even though he falls flat on his face in the postseason. Aaron Rodgers has the numbers in the regular season, besides last season. but then falls short on his face in the playoffs. Like, obviously, these guys are all taking it's the eyeball test to them. Now, I say, and I'm consistent with this, Jared Goff to me is the second best quarterback in the NFC coming off of last year. Now, if you ask players and coaches and executives who's better, Dak or Jared, the eyeball test will say, well, it's Dak Prescott. But they don't argue. They don't factor in, all the other things we factor in. But Sam, your reaction to the list, anybody that you think doesn't deserve to be there, anybody you think deserves to be there?
I'm going to focus on the 9 and 10 because I think that's where there is most contention. Obviously, I'll get this out of the way. Aaron Rodgers at 4. You would think that I would be super happy about that, but I actually don't think he deserves to be 4. I think he deserves to be in the 5, 6, 7 range. But anywho, that's not why we're here. We are here to talk about Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford because when you look at just last season, there is no way in hell that Jared Goff should not be on this list, and those two should. But that's why you have to dig just a little bit deeper. I've always been a little bit disturbed, and this is just me being me. That Lions fans are just so dismissive of Dak Prescott like he's some bum off the street. Oh, but Jared Goff's a guy that we should pay $45-50 million. He's a franchise quarterback. He could be elite. I don't understand that because based off of last year, Jared Goff was much, much better than Dak Prescott, though that is undisputed. Dak Prescott had the worst season of his career. But if you look at just the season before, and I'm going to use Stafford and Dak Prescott threw 37 touchdowns, 10 picks on a division-winning team, and Jared Goff threw 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on a team that won 3 games. In 2021, Jared Goff obviously had the 19 and 8. Matthew Stafford threw 41 in the regular season, 9 in the postseason for a total of 50 when you combine regular season and playoffs, and won a Super Bowl for the team that Jared Goff could not win a Super Bowl with. So at the same time, if you look at history, you look at a season before, not 2022, 2021, and even when you look at, and I know you guys aren't going to like this, but I don't give a shit. You look at playoff numbers. Jared Goff, I know everyone is just like, oh my God, he got the Rams to a Super Bowl. And Dak Prescott is this choker. All he does it every single playoffs.
Because it's true.
What if I told you, Lucas Klotz? What if I told you, Jeff Iafrate? What if I told you, Jeremy Bryant? What if I told you, Gabrielle D. Phillips? What if I told you guys in the audience that Jared Goff and Dak Prescott have played the exact same number of playoff games? Jared Goff has 4 touchdown passes to 2 picks. Dak Prescott has 11. I get it, 5 interceptions, but still.
What's the records?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, in the playoffs.
Wait a
That's
minute,
the only thing that matters.
So, are you giving Jared Goff all the credit for that Super Bowl run in which he threw 1 touchdown, 2 picks?
What I'm giving Jared Goff credit for is what I will never, which is what I can't stand about Dak Prescott. I think their talent's very similar.
He doesn't mess it up.
Yeah, Dak Prescott gets in the way of the Cowboys. Jared Goff hardly. There was times, I'm not going to say because he's not a perfect quarterback, but for especially the first couple of years, Jared Goff did not get in the way of the Rams. He let Todd Gurley do him. Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks, all you guys do you. I got Aaron Donald, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib on the other side, Eric Weddle. I'll let them ball out. My job is to make sure that I'm not throwing the game away, which we see Dak, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Kirk Cousins do. Right. And that's why even you can say Derek Carr. Derek Carr hasn't even been in the playoffs for more than a season. So it's not close here. The talent might be the same, but what the guys call it when they're talking about Wemby? The Wolf?
Oh
the
my
Wolf
God.
is different.
God.
The Wolf is different.
Now, and this is the other problem I have, because with Jared not being there, do I agree with how they rank quarterbacks? I'm a little different. I look at last year coming into this year. That's how I value it, because you're only as good as what you did lately, to me. And Derek didn't look great lately, or last season. Now, if you want to factor in legacy, pull up the list 1 through 5 for me. Because if we're going off last year, and this is where I don't think they are, Jalen Hurts is not 6.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is not 5 either.
Jalen Hurts was second in the MVP
it's
conversation.
More of a generality.
Like that, Herbert off what? The eyeball test? He's big. He has a cannon. Like what do we do? I don't know how we're ranking. And again, I love Herbert. I'm not trying to diss Herbert, but I don't understand how we're valuing each of these quarterbacks. Clearly, it's not off last season, because if it was, Goff, should be there.
Great.
I don't think typically if you're talking about guys and who opposing teams fear. Maybe they don't fear Goff like they fear Aaron Rodgers or fear Dak Prescott. Can't believe I'm saying that, because I don't think teams even fear him. But the point I'm making is, who cares? Who wins? And Dak Prescott consistently and Aaron Rodgers fall short. But the point is, I don't think they factor that into this list. It's just, hey, Aaron Rodgers is one of the better quarterbacks, one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But coming off last season, like Jalen Hurts coming off last season should be higher. So that's why this list to me isn't based off last season, so I really don't care about it. I don't.
Well,
it is what it is.
And nobody should care. I think at this point, I expect Jared Goff to do what he did last year and be the second best quarterback in the NFC once again. And for the record, if this was my list, before you guys call me a hater, I would put Jared Goff probably at 9. I think the top 8 are pretty much set in stone right now. My thing is, and this is why like people get mad at me, is I just don't like all of the just complete dismissiveness of guys like Dak Prescott, because I'm going to read something Jack Harrington said in the chat, because I hear this from all the freaking time. Oh, Dak Prescott is a playoff choke artist. What do you think of Jared Goff's playoff career then? Because Jared Goff's playoff career, I mean, Lucas, what you said earlier just grinds my gears so much. Basically, what you're saying is, man, the way that Jared Goff can just hand the ball off to Todd Gurley and throw those little passes. What if I told you Lucas Klotz in his first ever playoff game, he led the Rams to 13 points in a loss to the Atlanta Falcons? Wouldn't it have been nice? Wouldn't it have been nice too, Lucas, if he could have done something other than just like manage the game and lead the team to more than 13 points against the New England Patriots in one of the worst Super Bowls of all time? Come on now.
Yeah, it would also have been really nice if Brandon Cooks caught that ball that fell right in his hands. And before that, if you want to bring up the Falcons who went on to the Super Bowl, if we want to talk about managing the game, that's why I cannot stand Dak Prescott, because we saw his clock management at the end of this playoffs. And that's exactly why. In big-time games, in big moments, Dak's talent disappears and his mental awareness disappears. Jared Goff, even if his talent is not there, he's smart enough. I'm not saying Dak's a dumb individual, but in big moments, Dak shrinks. And Jared Goff, in my opinion, in big moments, he just stays the same. He's not any better. Sometimes he could be a little bit worse, especially on the road, but he does not get in the way of where the team's going. Especially like if the defense gives a 3-and-out, instead of throwing an interception, Jared Goff will kill the clock and maybe punt. That's not what you want.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But these are the things that Dak Prescott does. And it's like you give your defense a 3-and-out, and then there's a pick next possession. The defense for the other team now has a short yards, and the offense has a short field to go, so it's easier for them to score. And it creates short time. That's what Jared Goff does. He manipulates the clock better than. And when you're talking about Jared Goff and Dak Prescott in the playoffs, they're playing against better quarterbacks, yes or no?
Well,
most of the time, yes. So they have to figure out, how can I control the game in some way? It's not going to be with their skill. It's how they actually have an imprint on the game. Like Patrick Mahomes, you can do whatever you want. He's still going to be Patrick Mahomes in 13 seconds. Jared Goff isn't like that, so he's got to figure out, okay, how can I be Jared Goff today?
Well, just to mention some context, too, on this list, Jared was an honorable mention. Yeah. And just to give context on what they said about Jared, and I sent you the screenshot of Jared Goff's honorable mention and what it says, and you could throw that up whenever you got it, but I'll read it. He says, Goff rarely got a single vote over the past 3 seasons, okay? Rarely got a vote. But this year, he appeared on nearly 25% of the ballots after leading Detroit to 9 wins. Thanks in part to a 29-7 touchdown reception ratio, he ranked 3rd in the NFL in QBR against the blitz. And again, they write more about Jared Goff, but essentially, he did get some votes. 25% of the votes, he was on the ballot. Now, they do averages, so more than not, he wasn't in the top 10, but still, he was mentioned. Mm-hmm. And the other part, and this is the problem I have with this list, the biggest problem I have is, and this is written by Jeremy Fowler, by the way, just to give credit, and there you go, there's Jared Goff's explanation. It also writes in here, and this is really the mind-boggling one. Here we go. It says, the objective is to identify the best players right now for 2023. This is not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award. Who are the best players today? That's the question. Again, not a career achievement award, not a 5-year projection. Who are the best quarterbacks today? And they're still, for some reason, disrespected Hurts a little bit and overrating Rodgers a little bit. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, though, because I don't know how much you should take 2 years ago into account, because Jalen Hurts was kind of seen as a guy who you didn't know if you could win games with him throwing the football, and Aaron Rodgers won the MVP.
Right.
And then even when you look at Dak and Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff, 2 years ago it wasn't even a conversation. They were both clearly above Jared Goff, but at the same time, if you're looking at just last season, Jared Goff, I mean, if you're looking at just last season, and I wouldn't do this for the record, you would put him even above Aaron Rodgers, just based off of last season. But Aaron Rodgers has way too much cachet, even recent cachet, to just like throw that all away. You can't do that.
I think he's still top 10, but 4 over, some of the other guys, what Lawrence did last season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't agree with that at all. I think Justin Herbert, as much as I like him, people are kind of crowning him as the upper echelon of quarterback right now. I don't agree with that either, but here we are. That's the list.
Yeah.
So.
I think Justin Herbert's one of those guys where once he does get that playoff win, it's easy to call him top 5 and he'll stay there. But until he does that, you can't put him over guys like Jalen Hurts, who was just in the Super Bowl. And Rodgers is a little high. I'd probably put Rodgers at 6.
Yeah. I would swap Aaron and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
is that
100%,
fair? That's what I would do now.
Okay.
I would probably move Trevor above Lamar too.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
And then I wouldn't have 9 or 10 the same either.
Yeah. And Matthew, again, for Matthew Stafford, we know when he was healthy, what he did historically winning a Super Bowl statistically is also what he did in the regular season. I'm sorry, Lucas. Just the facts.
No,
Don't apologize.
I know
Don't
what
apologize.
it is.
But again, if you're coming off last season, Dak and Stafford, they just shouldn't be in this list. But again, this is according to, I'm going to go back to it, has to be the eyeball test. What am I seeing? Matthew, when we face Matthew, he puts more fear into us than Jared. That's fair. But coming off last season, I don't think there's an argument at all. But we're going to go to break. When we get back, I want to answer a question. Speaking of Peter Schrager, he tweeted this out yesterday. Have you seen the quarterback show on Netflix at all? Have you checked it out?
Yes.
Have you guys checked it out?
Yeah.
Quarterback
Kirk
on Netflix. It's really good. And Peter Schrager had an interesting question, and we're going to answer that. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo. Because, guys, whoever made this list, I'll tell you what they're on. You might have to go to Dispo to check out the product. And you can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care. With over 10 locations, Dispo is never far away. Visit DispoShops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. That is DISPOShops.com, your local cannabis plug.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, shit. Go ahead.
Watch episodes at WoodwardSports.com.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at WoodwardSports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Tuesday morning. Happy to have you here. Be sure to follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. And then after that, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube. And while you're at it, like this video. If you're listening after the fact, download this episode and leave a 5-star review.
5-star.
Peter Schrager tweeted a question out yesterday, and I thought it was really interesting too. And he posed this question also on his podcast. And the question was, what 3 quarterbacks would you want to follow for season 2 of Quarterback on Netflix? He has his picks: Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, Anthony Richardson. Have at it. Now, if you haven't watched Quarterback already, it basically follows Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, and last season. It follows them on a day-to-day basis, their off days, what they do, the struggles. It gives you a different perspective on quarterbacks. So I've enjoyed it. I think it's been a little dry, though, to be honest with you, because Marcus Mariota, I mean, it's not much there. Even though Marcus, great guy, but it's not entertaining.
His wife and just seemed miserable the whole time.
Yeah,
like they just I'm probably like the 32nd best quarterback in the league, and me and my wife both know it.
Yeah, and I'm only through 2 episodes, and it just seems like every time I go to Marcus Mariota, he's just losing again. So
it's just a somber feel.
Yeah, it's tough. Mahomes has been a lot of fun, but the question I have is 3 quarterbacks you'd want the quarterback, the show, to follow next season. Who would your 3 be, Sam Flannel?
Well,
if you had to choose?
they got to go season 2 of Patrick Mahomes, of course, to the shock of absolutely no one. I mean, here's the thing: who wouldn't want to watch the best player to ever play their respective sport just go through the ins and outs of their day-to-day life and everything? And for the record, I'm not saying greatest right now, but best I've personally ever seen. And honestly, I would actually love to see them look behind the scenes of Josh Allen, because I've always thought he was a very, very intriguing personality. I've always loved his story of how it's so funny, because guys like Anthony Richardson, guys like Will Levis, they should send half of their check to Josh Allen, because it was because of somebody like him who had accuracy issues in college, who was that big arm, who didn't show much at Wyoming, but he actually got drafted by the Bills. They took a swing on him, and it worked out for them, so GMs are trying to recreate that in Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. And honestly, I would like to see, and Lucas, I know I'm probably stealing your answer, I'm just picking the elite guys, I would like to see them follow Joe Burrow, because I just think he's a very interesting character. I would like to see what goes into the whole aura of him that makes people think that he is Teflon and Joe Cool. Because, I mean, he is a cool guy. He does seem like a very, very interesting dude who just has a lot of swag and everything. And he is right now the second best quarterback in the NFL. So I would like for them to follow guys who are actually great, kind of see what it takes. I have no interest in Marcus Mariota again, because there is no NFL player who I've ever seen in the history of life who is more basically wheat bread toast than Atlanta Falcons Marcus Mariota. In Tennessee, he had some big plays, but right now, Marcus Mariota in that Arthur Smith offense is like it's worse than watching paint dry. Would you guys all agree?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about Marcus Mariota?
It's just like a train waiting to crash. You know, this guy's, first of all, his talent's peaked out after he threw a pass off of a Chiefs defender. That was like his prime.
Yeah.
His best completed pass was to himself. And then I think he fumbled like 2 snaps to lose a game this season. Like, it was completely on him. And then it just has him walking off. He's like, yeah, get him next time. It's like, no, buddy. There's no next time after the season for you.
Do you know the worst thing about Marcus Mariota too?
What?
It's not even that he just like implodes in interesting ways. He's the type of guy that'll just have, I don't know, 14 out of 23, 150 yards. Then he'll throw one pick. He'll lead the team to like 14 points. And he doesn't really run like he used to. He's just uninteresting in every way, shape, or form. And I get it. I know picking Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen is kind of a cop-out. And I'm sure I stole some of your guys' answers. But at the same time, it's
your
about
list, Flannel.
Right. It's about watching greatness in progress, particularly with Patrick Mahomes. I know we see it in season 1, and I know he wouldn't do it again, but Patrick Mahomes, I mean, when it's all said and done, you might be looking at him as the greatest player who ever played NFL football.
Fact.
That's not outside the realm of possibility, and you'd like to see behind the scenes what goes into it.
Yeah. So for me, I had 2 lists. I have 6. I have 2 lists of 3 because there's too many good storylines. The first 3 I have, in the best one, and by the way, Netflix quarterback, I'm your boy. If you want to make some money, I got some suggestions here, and I'll read them off for you. If you want to make some money, I got you. I'll tell you what, okay? This is who I got. Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Tua. How about that?
For all 3?
All 3.
That's the first 3?
That's
Cover
the first
Jordan.
combo.
Cover Jordan Love, cover Jared Goff, and cover Tua Tagovailoa. You want storylines? There you go. Let's see how much of a bum Jordan Love is.
Yeah.
Let's see Jared Goff and his career be turned around. And let's see Tua, if he's still awake. Let's just check that out, too. So there's 3. That's messed up. And then the other 3. No, that's messed up, actually.
Why?
That's messed up. That's out of pocket. That was out of pocket.
Okay.
That's on me. The next 3 I want to go with, and I think this would be fun. Geno Smith, Justin Fields, and Joe Burrow. Because then you're getting all 3 levels. Geno Smith, his storyline. Justin Fields, is he good? And then Joe Burrow for all the reasons Sam laid out. What do you think, Lucas? Who are your 3?
Look, I like the Geno pick because I was going to pick him too, but I'm going to swap it out. I'll go Joe Burrow because I'll do like the Netflix, elite, mid, and then. So I'll go elite, we'll go Joe Burrow. Mid, I'm actually really excited this season to see how Kenny Pickett does in Pittsburgh. Just because I think a lot of people kind of have the flannel reaction where they just scoffed at him. But I think, like Jared Goff, he's surrounded with a lot of weapons, and he's a point guard type of quarterback in his second year. I think they have a chance to finish second in the division. It's not like a bank, but I really want to see how Kenny Pickett does, especially with George Pickens. George Pickens on that show would be money.
Yeah, he would.
And then the bum quarterback, C.J. Stroud. I want
my
to see
God.
C.J. Stroud's rookie year just burn. Him throwing to John Mechie, getting smacked around by the Jaguars. Anthony Richardson comes into town for the Colts. Everybody says, this is the project quarterback. And he just lays down the wood on C.J. Stroud.
No, that's out of pocket.
You have C.J. Stroud derangement syndrome.
I can't stand that dude. I liked Ohio State football just as much as I liked Detroit Lions football, and him and Ryan Day killed it.
This idea, and I'm not trying to turn this into a tangent, that you probably liked him when they had J.T. Barrett and Braxton Miller and Cardale Jones and stuff
I
like that.
I like the beginning of J.T. Barrett, not the end.
But we all, I mean, there's no competition on who's a better quarterback. I mean, J.T. Barrett, undrafted, C.J. Stroud, number 2 pick overall.
One of them just knew how to win games.
He's a win. Oh, okay. You know what? We're not going to get into that.
What about this comment? Ransom chiming in. He says Russell Wilson working out lunges. I mean, that'd be fun too.
Yeah, Russ again.
Russell Wilson.
I mean, that would almost be like Kirk on steroids, because it's like you get the cringe factor of Kirk, but now you're getting the money. You're not getting the wife picking out of his clothes, him sitting around the fire with his family in like the suburban neighborhood of the local, like a mile away from the local elementary school. Nice fire, Coop.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, dude.
Nice.
He's got to hide
Coop.
his trophy room because he feels like it's a little like too much of himself to put it. Like, dude, you're an NFL quarterback. Just be yourself. Stop letting your wife control your life.
Well,
I don't want to look at that, Kirk. Throw it in the closet. Okay, honey.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? His shirt that she picked out went viral too, and he was just like, he didn't even notice. Like, Kirk's the most like normal dude ever. Gabby, what about you? Any quarterback you'd like to see if you were going to tune into quarterback?
I have my list.
Oh, what's up? Give it to me.
Let her cook.
I'm starting with Josh Allen. I think he's like private enough where the cameras would be great to see kind of the behind the scenes with him. I'm going to say a big fat no to Aaron Rodgers because I don't think it's going to happen after the season of Hard Knocks. There's no way he's going to want more cameras following him around after all the pushback from Hard Knocks. And then I'm going to go with Joe Burrow just because he's such a personality and I want to see his closet. And then my third, I'm going to go with Will Levis.
Ooh.
Will Levis.
I like that one, Gabby.
You get the up close. You get the mayo and the coffee up close for an hour. I'm cool with Will Levis. I'm cool. I think we all mutually. Joe Burrow though, like if you want to go with that Mahomes, you just went with Mahomes. That factor, you know, like why not Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow's like mystique. He's like quiet, reserved. Mahomes is he's a little more outgoing, but still reserved. But Joe Burrow, Joe Cool. Like I just want to see him operate and see his family life because. You know, I also just want to. I'm just nosy, but the other part of me thinks like he's not that entertaining either. Like I don't know. I feel like Joe Burrow's the most normal dude.
But I think that would be kind of funny if he's showing up to game day in this big fuzzy blue jacket, but then at the same time he has absolutely nothing. Like it's like totally understated in every other piece of his life. I think that would be the juxtaposition there would be really cool to see.
What about you, JB? Is Joe Burrow on your list? Who do you got?
Joe Burrow is actually not on my list.
Okay,
surprisingly.
JB. Let him cook.
But I got to give Flannel credit. You still have to put Patrick Mahomes in this for a second season just because, hey, you got to beat the man. And who knows? Chiefs might have a down season. You might see Patrick Mahomes blow up on TV. You might see him get mad at his brother or, or Brittany, It could be
I think we could bet Jackson's not going to be on the second season of the show if they come out with that
hopefully he won't be. But, yeah, you never know what you could get out of Patrick Mahomes, especially if they have a down season. My second quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I want to see if he can bounce back in Baltimore after all this contract dispute. And my third, it's a toss-up either between C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson just because they're on their rookie deals right now. You want to see how well they do in their rookie season. So those are my three.
I love it, JB. And one that I don't think anyone's brought up yet, correct me if I'm wrong, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, or Trevor Lawrence.
Deshaun Watson hasn't been brought up. Trevor Lawrence would be a great one.
Yeah.
Deshaun, at least you get the drama factor. Like people would probably be triggered that he's on it. But regardless, I would selfishly want to see Deshaun Watson. I want to get to some of these comments because people are chiming into. Doughboy Steve says Burrow meat riders unite.
Hell yeah.
Well.
Proud one right here, baby.
Yeah.
proud Joe Burrow stand right
here. Steve says they should pick Purdy, Deshaun Watson, and Anthony Richardson. That's a good one. Purdy would be interesting too.
Purdy's a good one. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
And I think Anthony Richardson's a good one. Peter Schrager suggested Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't mind him at all. Corey Berry says Trevor Lawrence would take Netflix to Waffle House. Yeah, well, that's true. Andrew says Matthew Stafford and Goff, get them both on the same season.
Interesting.
Just because
I don't want to watch broken back Matthew Stafford lead the Rams to a 6-11 record as he's trying to still sidearm it to a wide open Cooper Kupp. It's just going to be a hard watch, even harder. And he's boring too. He's not going to bring any excitement.
Yeah, well, you get an argument for that too. Let's see. Jack says Allen, Purdy, and Goff. DNC says Hurts, Goff, Cardinals, QBs. Your boy Clayton Tune's on there.
I didn't think about that one. Tune into Clayton Tune next year.
God.
Oh,
Jesus,
my.
man.
Just
The
only
man
you.
that's going to keep them from drafting Caleb Williams, Clayton Tune.
I just love, Lucas, how you just have cold sweats at the very thought of C.J. Stroud. But when Clayton Tune comes up, you're like, oh, my God, Clayton Tune.
If Clayton Tune was at Ohio State, they would have beaten Michigan.
No, okay, all right.
Money on that one.
Maneuver.
Money!
I can't, oh, my God.
What about this? John says the doc. He says Deshaun Watson's going to get a massage on the opening scene. Well, that's okay.
But hey, you know what? If you're going to have
John.
Deshaun
It's
Watson
Netflix.
on
There's
that.
no way that they would let.
No,
Right,
there's
right.
no
even
way.
have him in the series.
Then again, it
Too
is
much controversy.
Netflix. They might do that. You never know.
No, this is not HBO Max.
There's some sketchy things on
This
Netflix.
is not HBO Max.
JV, they're letting it slide, man.
There's some sketchy things on Netflix. Just to let you guys know.
There's some sketchy things
Just
on Netflix.
letting us know.
Yeah,
Thanks, JV.
JV, they might let it slide. They might let it slide. MF Jester says if this show was smart, they would start filming the other position groups too, and they just pick 3 guys, 110% doable. Yeah, honestly, I would love to see it. I think MF suggested this earlier. Get wide receivers too.
Yeah.
Like I would love to follow wide receivers. I think that'd be fun. Amon-Ra St. Brown would be a lot of fun, obviously selfishly, but even more than that, DeAndre Hopkins with the Tennessee Titans. Go follow him.
Poor guy.
Where all receivers go to die for some reason in Tennessee. It would all be fun. When we get back, we're going to go to break. When we get back, I want to do something new. Now that the NFL season's approaching, training camp's getting here, I want to go through all the divisions and get our division winners and see how we all are feeling. Because we've had a little bit of these convos, but I want to rank the divisions and see what you have, which teams. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Gabrielle D. Phillips, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas, and Alex. We're so happy that you're here with us. And while you're here, also like and subscribe. If you're watching on the website, check out previous live shows, articles, merchandise, and more. And follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports.
Oh, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show. We just came back from talking about the quarterbacks in last segment about the Netflix show Quarterback, and which 3 quarterbacks you'd like to see on the show. Now I want to get into the division winners, because it is that time, right? It's ranking season. This is where in August is going to be rough. It's going to be rough because it's the last stretch onto the NFL season. So again, we're going to start here and rank all the divisions and get our predictions. And we'll start with in the NFC. I think we'll start in the NFC. We'll go to the NFC North first, because I don't think there will be much of a conversation here. We would all agree we have the Lions winning the division. Okay.
100%.
Got that out of the way. Now we'll move on, okay?
I'll get the graphic pulled up here in 2 seconds.
Okay, NFC North. Now we'll go to the NFC East, and we'll start there. NFC East, Philly, Dallas, New York, Washington. Who wins that division? Sam, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that's another one that doesn't really need an explanation. I am going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think we would. I mean, I don't know if anybody else in the room has a different opinion, but we'll go around. JB, are you Eagles as well?
Yeah, it's Eagles.
I don't need to do a long-winded
Eagles?
explanation.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with the Eagles, too. I agree with that. NFC East, Eagles are winning that division.
Yes.
Lions winning the NFC North. NFC South. And this one, you know, it's a rough division. I'll just say that. Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Watch out for Kyle Trask. Those guys are both terrible in minicamp. They were both so bad in minicamp.
You see that video floating around of them just like overthrowing every tight end.
And now you see guys trying to recruit Tom back. It's like, yeah. Lets you know how good it's going over in Tampa. You got the Buccaneers, Panthers, Saints, Falcons.
I am going to go with the New Orleans Saints because I think this season having Derek Carr, say what you want about him, is an upgrade over what they had last year. They still have Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas might be coming back. If Michael Thomas can be anything approximation of what he was in his prime, that'll be huge. Chris Olave is obviously a stud. We know that. They still have Cam Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore on that defense. I think that in that weaker division, in which obviously the Buccaneers are going to be terrible, I worry about Carolina just with the weapons that Bryce Young has to throw the football to. And with Atlanta, I mean, I love Bijan Robinson, but is Desmond Ridder is going to be their quarterback?
Yep.
No, thank you. Give me the New Orleans Saints because no matter what, they have without a doubt the best quarterback in the division and by far and away the most proven. Give me the Saints.
What about you, Lucas? What do you think?
I'm with Flannel here. I'm all in on the Saints this year for the NFC South. The only thing that I disagreed with in that whole statement is the Panthers have some dogs at receiver right now, especially with Jonathan Mingo. DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. He's unproven, I'll give you that, but I think he's like a crappy clone of A.J. Brown. But this Saints defense is very good. Dennis Allen has been with this team for about 10 years now, being the defensive coordinator and defensive assistant. Now he's the head coach. So the strength of that team is what the head coaching is going to be best at. Derek Carr, I think, is going to be finally in a functional organization with some true talent around him. I like the fact that they brought Jamal Williams in. They have a nice tight end with Juwan Johnson. I think it's the most complete team in that division, but I think the Panthers are going to give them a run for their money. I don't think it's just going to be like Saints and the rest. I think the Panthers and even the Falcons, they're going to give them some trouble in that division.
Well, and Lucas, before I let anybody else go, I completely forgot about Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu. They've got 4 legitimate studs on that defense, guys who could, every single one of them could be wearing a gold jacket in Canton someday, and they all can still play. So
100%.
I think I honestly don't understand why they're not the consensus, why not everyone's picking them. But I'll let everyone else go first. What do you guys think?
So this one's tough for me because I've been high on the Panthers for essentially this whole offseason. I love the Panthers. And people look at the weapons they got. They got your guy Mingo. Mingo out of Ole Miss.
Yep.
Yeah, so which has been kind of wide receiver university the last couple of years with DK and A.J. Brown. And Elijah Moore, too. Yeah, yep. Elijah Moore. So you got the Panthers, which good defense. Bryce Young. They got Miles Sanders. Decent O-line. Frank Reich I like a lot. Jim Caldwell, offensive analyst. They got Deuce Staley as well, running backs coach. I like what the Panthers are building a lot, and I think they'll give the Saints a run for their money legitimately. I just think maybe the experience of the Saints with Derek Carr might just kind of distance himself. I think it'll be about a win or two away. Give me the Saints, but in the next couple years, I think this will be the Panthers' division to win. The only thing the Falcons have to figure out is quarterback.
Yeah.
Once they figure out a quarterback, good luck. Yeah. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, pretty good O-line, decent defense, getting better and better. The Falcons are going to be on the watch, but give me the Saints, but just by a hair. Very, very minuscule.
Shout out that comment in the chat. Jam Cat, daily reminder that we hate the Chicago Bears. #OnePride with a $5 donation. Go. Go.
Yeah, Jam Cat, shout out to you, man. And again, NFC South, put it in the chat pool. I want the people to participate with us. Saints, 55% of the votes, 27% Panthers right behind them. I'm telling you, the Panthers, I like, and people want to crap on Frank Reich. I think he's a pretty good coach.
No, he's good.
He is. He gets a lot of flack, I think, undeservedly so. So we'll move on. That's the NFC South. We'll go to another NFC division. Well, actually, before, I want to get to you guys too, JB. The Saints, the team to beat. Anybody else you would like to put?
It's going to be close, but I would agree.
Saints as well, or you think any other team?
I mean, you got to watch out for the Bucks. You know, they're
oh my God!
They're going to be so great this year, you guys. I'm telling you. No, I'm joking. No, give me the Saints. I am a little worried about Alvin Kamara, and the NFL actually comes down on him, and he actually missed a couple games. But I think they'll be fine. But the Panthers will definitely be nipping at their heels. But give me the Saints to win this one out.
Last division, NFC West, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. So I'll go with the No, I'm just kidding. We'll start with you, Sam. Who do you think will win that division?
Well, that's 49ers, and I think it's not even going to be particularly close. I think the Seahawks are going to be good. They're going to be a wild card team. They added Jackson Smith-Njigba and Devon Witherspoon in the draft. They added Bobby Wagner, which I think is going to be huge for them. He brought him back home. But the San Francisco 49ers, just all of the talent. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Talona Hufanga. You got Charvarius Ward. Listen to all of that talent. It doesn't matter who they are going to put at quarterback. If Brock Purdy isn't healthy to start the season, I actually agree with Lucas. Even if it is Sam Darnold, this team with Kyle Shanahan, it doesn't matter who it is. They are a guaranteed lock, 11 to 12 wins minimum, possibly 13 or 14. Give me San Francisco.
So, Lucas, I'll let you give your take because I think we'd all agree it's the 49ers. I don't think unless anybody would like to dispute that, I think Seattle will win 10 games. I think they'll be better, but still, I think there's a gap between what the 49ers have defensively. Even though Seattle's building a really good, especially good secondary, 49ers is just too damn good. Sam Darnold, regardless who's at quarterback, they'll win double-digit games, but he ain't winning MVP. I'm just saying.
MVP,
okay,
no,
all right,
not
just
winning
making
it.
sure.
No.
Okay. But you'd agree it's the 49ers.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be like a game difference between these two teams.
I can see that.
Like, it's going to be, I think this would come down to, like, usually the Seahawks and Niners play, like, week 17, week 18, like, kind of how the Vikings and Lions do. And it's going to come down to one of those games, and like, kind of like a tiebreaker. So this division's going to be close between those two teams because I know 49ers are loaded, and I love a bunch of players on their team, but Seattle has some actual talent, and they're kind of like the Lions where they learned how to win together, and I think it's an organic group for the most part. So I trust this Seattle team to be like an 11-win team this year.
What about you guys? Would you agree 49ers? Any dispute there?
I'm not changing the narrative.
49ers.
No, 49ers.
Okay, 49ers agree there. We got a couple minutes, and then we'll go to the AFC because this is taking up more time, which is fine. We'll use 2 segments on this. We'll go through all the divisions. So far in the NFC, we have the Eagles winning the NFC East, which somebody chimed in. I can't remember who it was, and correct me if I'm wrong. Just feel free to chime in and correct me. They said NFC East a team hasn't won back-to-back divisions in the NFC East in like 30 years. It's been a different team every year. Any fear for the Eagles? So you think it could be? You think Cowboys could take it?
I absolutely think the Cowboys could take it just because of the playing fact. And this doesn't mean, and I don't necessarily am saying that this is what's going to happen, but the Eagles losing both of the coordinators, that matters, especially with a coordinator like Shane Steichen and what he did for Jalen Hurts. I think he improved Jalen Hurts dramatically, but I still think Jalen Hurts need another year or two under Steichen. It's neither their fault. Obviously, Steichen want to go get a bag. I think he's going to turn around Anthony Richardson very well, but we can't just overlook that. And yes, Dallas lost Kellen Moore offensively, but I don't think they really lost that much offensive talent. Steichen was controlling that whole offense and really put them into form that year. This Cowboys group's kind of been together and gelled a little bit longer, so I could see somehow, just regular season-wise, I'm saying that the Cowboys are better record-wise.
Yeah, you know what, Lucas? I'm not saying that the Cowboys will overtake the Eagles, but you don't even, the coordinators, obviously, with Gannon and Steichen, but you even look at, they lost T.J. Edwards, they lost Javon Hargraves, they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson to our Detroit Lions. And the Dallas Cowboys, I know a lot of people like to dismiss them and poo-poo them and Dak Prescott, but, they've got CeeDee Lamb, they've got Tony Pollard as the undisputed RB1. I think he's going to have a great year.
Brandon Cooks now, too.
Brandon Cooks, you got Stephon Gilmore in the secondary opposite that overrated bum
They got
Diggs,
Mozzie Smith and Luke Schoonmaker.
Hey, brought back Leighton Vander Esch. Yes, absolutely. Good Michigan men. And I'll give you what I think could be a bit of a hot take. I believe that Micah Parsons is going to have 20 sacks this season. I really do. I think he is that talented and that great. And if he does that, I think that can alone wreck enough games to where maybe they win an extra 1 or 2. I still got the Eagles, but the Cowboys will be nipping at their heels.
Yep.
I think it'll be close, too. And I think this comment sums it up perfectly. And Lucian kind of nailed it, too. He said, Cowboys win division, but Eagles get further in the playoffs. Eagles team overall kind of got worse, which is true. Eagles did get worse, but I think it's more of like the Eagles and Cowboys, the gap was like this. Now it's like this. Like the Eagles to me are still better, but maybe the gap is
regular season wise.
Yeah, because again, who you trusting in the playoff game?
ain't taking Rain in the playoffs. You're not doing that. Not going to call him by
He said it, not me.
Rain,
He said it, Sam
Dakota
Flannel.
Prescott. Stay away.
You taking Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott in a playoff game?
Well, who do you think, Jeff? Obviously, Jalen Hurts. You guys all act like I'm just some Dak Prescott simp or something like that. No,
right.
I just think the idea that he is universally better, and it's accepted that he's universally better, he's a playoff choker than Jared Goff, is a little bit flawed. I'll tell you what about Dak Prescott, and I'm just going to drop this little bomb, and then maybe we're about to go to break.
God.
The playoff game that he played last year against Tampa Bay, and the playoff game that he played in his playoff debut at home against the Packers, in which they lost on a last-second field goal to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers 34-31, are two better playoff games that Dak Prescott played than any Jared Goff has ever played. I know Dak Prescott has had some implosions, but still, he has had higher highs than Jared Goff.
No, he has not. He's not been in a Super Bowl, Flannel.
Okay.
Statistically, he's had higher highs.
Okay. All right. Well, how about this? Sam, you love Dak so much. Why don't you go get his hair cut at Lady Jane's? Could you tell us all where you can go get
Look
that?
at that transition. I mean, I don't want the Dak Prescott haircut. I think it would look a little bit strange on me, and I think this one that I got right now already looks pretty damn good. And it's because
it
of
does.
the wonderful stylists over at Lady Jane's. I go to any single one of them, and they always get my hair looking spick and span, get me looking spick and span, so I can look spick and span on the Morning Woodward show. And you can walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but two vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you and one for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Detroit sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show on Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't already, feel free to chime into the chat thread on YouTube. If you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, like the wonderful merchandise JB is rocking from the street.
Let him see, JB. Let him
check it
see.
out. There you go.
JB
Get that woodwardsports.com. But if you can't watch the show live, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen on Apple, Spotify, any podcast app you listen to. We're just talking about division winners. We got through the NFC, picked our division winners. Now I want to move to the AFC, where things do get a little tougher here. And we'll start with... Well, we'll save the toughest for last. We'll save the best for last. Okay, we'll start with the AFC South, okay? AFC South, Jags, Titans, Colts, Texans. Sam, who wins that division, and why is it the Jags?
I mean, yeah, it's obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't need to go on a long run about this. When you got Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, another year under Doug Peterson, I think they will both even take leaps over what they were last year. And now, and one of the reasons is because they are giving Trevor Lawrence his #1 wide receiver back. Calvin Ridley coming off of suspension. I think he's going to have a great year. And I think their defense, I think Josh Allen is obviously a very, very good edge rusher. And I think Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd both take leaps. So give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, not close. I think we'd all agree.
Who would even, and I guess the Titans would be that second team, but how far is it, Lucas?
It's a Ryan Tannehill to Trevor Lawrence gap. That's all you need to know. Especially, I like Vrabel and I like Peterson, but it does not matter when you have Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball. And this defense, like Sam just alluded to, is very underrated. Tyson Campbell, Chad Muma, Devin Lloyd.
Tyson Campbell's a stud.
Then you have Josh Allen on one side, Trayvon Walker on the other. I can't think of their safety's name off the top of my head, who's very good. But
Jenkins or whatever?
Jenkins. Yeah. And then, like you just said, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, we're going to see kind of like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs production out of them. Maybe not on the ground, but just total yardage. This duo is going to be filthy, especially in this division. If you look at the secondaries in this division, this is going to be like when the Packers were in the NFC North, and it was Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and a big jump. And for the next 5 to 6 years, you knew that other teams were not winning a division title. This is the first time the Jags are going to win the South. Well, they won it last year, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so they won it the first time last year, and this is going to just keep carrying on for years and years, in my opinion.
And they won it. It was close last year, and Scott Ward made some great points, too, for the Titans. He says, please pick against the Titans again. Stupid. The Titans would have won the division again if not for Josh Dobbs, which is true. If they had a quarterback, they would have won that division. Malik Willis and Josh Dobbs, that's what they had to work with last season. But I just think the Jags are going to be even better.
Yeah.
They got Calvin Ridley. Now Trevor Lawrence has finally found his own. Last year had a great year, at least the second half, too. I think he's going to be even better this year.
100%.
And I think Trevor Lawrence over the next couple of years will be one of those sleepers in that MVP conversation. I can see that as well. Now with a ton of weapons like he has at his disposal. So we agree it's the Jags. No one would disagree with that as well.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll go to the AFC West. We'll let Sam take the reins on this one.
Lead it off,
Chiefs,
Sam.
Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. Give it to me, Sam. Why is it the Chiefs? Tell me.
Well, obviously, they've got the best quarterback to ever play NFL football. You got Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end to ever play NFL football. And you've got Andy Reid at head coach, the greatest offensive mind to ever coach NFL football. And you've got Chris Jones on the defensive line, I think currently the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. And every time the Kansas City Chiefs walk into any arena, whether it be home, they even do this on the road because the Chiefs are so damn dominant. Cue the music. Hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high,
No. My ears.
Hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em low. Okay.
I hate you,
So
man.
I mean, those are just fun.
Now, I'll tell you this. Although I agree with Sam, it is the Chiefs. You know what team I like as a sleeper? And I said this in our group chat, the Broncos. And although Russell Wilson, and I can't believe I'm making this argument because, trust me, it's a tough argument to make, but it's the same thing Sam says about Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson didn't forget how to play football.
Right.
He didn't forget. Like, he did. I'm sorry, he did. Now, Sean Payton there, the defense they already have in place, the weapons he has at his disposal, they upgraded the offensive line. They're going to have Javonte Williams back, healthy. I like the Broncos. I think the Broncos can win 10 games this season. Now, will they win the division? No. I think the Chiefs will win that division, even without a true number one wide receiver besides Travis Kelce. The Chiefs are just too damn good.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Reid and Mahomes are good enough to win the division just by themselves. I think the Broncos could be a sleeper in that division. Chargers, I don't like Brandon Staley at all. I think he's fired after this season. Ben Johnson takes that job. How about that for a take?
Yeah.
How about that? Well, they got Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore as well. He's the new OC for the Chargers. But I'm going to say Chiefs. But I think the Broncos are a sleeper, Lucas. I do.
You are spot on, Jefferson. Javonte Williams is going to have a comeback season like people are not expecting. I see him in fantasy drafts, by the way, just to put a fantasy thing out there. He's fallen to like the 5th, 6th round in most fantasy drafts. Make sure.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but not only that defense that Sean Payton is going to be coaching, it's going to thrive. I think the Broncos are going to have a top, because they did just lose Bradley Chubb. I'll give them a top 10 defense for sure, but I agree with you. Russell Wilson did not forget how to play football. And Jerry Jeudy, I think, is going to be unlocked this year. I think Jerry Judy's going to have a 1,000-plus yard season. I think the season we've all been waiting for Jerry Jeudy to have, he's going to have this year. Broncos are easily a 10-win team this year.
What about you, JB and Gabby? You guys agree? Chiefs division? Anybody you like to mention, or is it just Chiefs and that's it? Point blank. Period.
It's just the Chiefs.
All right.
That's it.
You guys are no fun. All right, we'll move on. AFC North. Sam Flannel's been barking about this for quite some time now. Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Sam, take a crack at it.
There are very few times in which I get to quote my favorite athlete of all time. Believe it or not, it's not Patrick Mahomes.
It's Ben Wallace.
No, it is not Ben Wallace, Lucas Klotz. It is LeBron James. And this is where I just have to say, Cleveland, this is for you. The Cleveland Browns will shock the world and win the division this year. And here's the thing. I don't think it really is that much of a shock. I think I'm going to apply some of the same principles to Deshaun Watson that you guys applied to Russell Wilson. Deshaun Watson did not forget how to play football. We forget between 2018 and 2020, that was his prime so far. He was considered maybe the one who has next, who could challenge as the second best quarterback in the NFL after Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's had some issues that were self-inflicted, but still, I think this is the year where he comes back. And let's just, I'm just going to work a little bit backwards when it comes to the Bengals versus the Browns, because I think everyone else is going to pick the Bengals. When it comes to Deshaun Watson versus Joe Burrow obviously has the advantage, but I think this season the gap isn't going to be as wide as you think. I think Deshaun Watson bounces back big. I would take Nick Chubb 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 over Joe Mixon. Wide receiver core, I would take the Bengals, but Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is not bad. Tight end, I'd say I would probably go irrelevant on both ends. Offensive line, that is 1,000,000,000,000% the Cleveland Browns, because obviously the Cincinnati Bengals still have a bad offensive line. They did get Orlando Brown in the offseason, but I don't think he's going to fix everything by himself. The Cleveland Browns offensive line is just stacked, especially at guard with Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. And then you look at the defense. The defense for the Cleveland Browns, they have Myles Garrett, obviously one of the best edge rushers of this generation, one of the most feared men in the NFL. They have Denzel Ward, a former Ohio State Buckeye, who is a damn good corner. And they added in the offseason, they added Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith from the Minnesota Vikings to kind of shore up their defensive line. And they added Juan Thornhill at safety from Kansas City, a very underrated player for Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at, think about this, Lucas, I don't even think you can disagree. The Cincinnati Bengals secondary is sus, to put it nicely, and I would say very, very weak, borderline terrible, to put it more mean. I think that is clearly a weakness. And then you look at the Bengals linebacking core, it's pretty good, and their defensive line is actually very good.
Solid as hell.
Absolutely. So I think those teams are fairly evenly matched, and at some positions, especially offensive line, I would give the edge to Cleveland and running back 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, and secondary as well. So give me the Cleveland Browns with comeback player of the year being none other than Deshaun Watson.
Ooh.
It wouldn't really be that surprising. He's got a lot to come back from.
He was top 5 when he was healthy.
Yeah, and here, all that sounds great, Sam, but I'll just tell you why you're wrong here. I think the Bengals, say what you want about their defense, because they did get worse. They lost some starters. Von Bell went to the Panthers, I believe.
Yes.
That was their starting safety. Jesse Bates as well with the Falcons. So secondary is questionable. But the biggest question I have is Deshaun Watson, even last season, and you're right, I don't think he forgot how to play football, and I think Deshaun will eventually get back to his original form, but still, you can't argue 2 years off of playing football. Like 2 years, at least Russell and Aaron Rodgers were playing. So for Deshaun, there's more question marks. I'm going to lean Bengals here. I could see the Browns winning 10 games, but I could see the Bengals winning 12 and winning the division by 1 or 2 games. I do think the Browns are much better than 7 and 10 this year, but not enough to overtake the Bengals. What do you think, Lucas?
I think this division is going to be very close. I think the Bengals sneak it out, but I think both the Browns and the Steelers are going to give them a run for their money. I think I texted to you the other day. I think we could see, if all it works out, and Denver gives me a little bit of concern, and whoever is second in the AFC East, but we could see 3 AFC North teams sneak into the playoffs.
Because I like the Ravens too.
I like all 4 of the teams, but when it comes down to it, I think coaching matters, and I definitely like Mike Tomlin over Kevin Stefanski 100%. That's literally the only reason I'm giving the Steelers over the Browns. I don't think anything Flannel said about the Browns or the team is incorrect. I just think Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, I'm taking them over Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski.
It's just there's more questions with the Browns, more question marks. And if Sam, listen, it's not a crazy take.
No.
I don't want to, decrown the Bengals just yet. I think they're still here in a run. We'll see what happens moving forward and how Deshaun Watson looks. But JB, Gabby, what do you guys think? Is it the Browns division to lose, or is the Bengals as usual?
Gabby, you want to go first on this?
No, you got it.
You want to save Sam or what?
No, I'm not going to save Sam. Nothing Sam said is actually wrong. I like the 4 teams in this division, but as you said, Jeff, there's still that little more question marks with the Ravens, with the Browns, but AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals.
And I don't think Gabby's saying anything.
No, I'm backing Burrow.
See, we talk about Burrow for quarterback the show. I mean, you kind of know where our bias lies, but it's not even a bias for me, man. It's just, and Lucas, it's just talent, dude.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow, he's special. And I think if you have that receiving core in place, you have Zach Taylor, you have Joe Burrow, it's kind of, and I'm not saying he's Mahomes, but it's the same thing. As long as Burrow's there with those weapons and Zach Taylor, to me, they're winning that division. I mean, you saw what Kansas City did with rookies in their secondary. Not saying it's the same exact thing but I think they'll be fine.
But I would argue that the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is just very quick, have the worst offensive line and worst secondary of any so-called contending team.
Well, didn't they add Orlando?
They added Orlando Brown.
Yeah, and they got Ryan Jensen coming back from injury, which is a huge loss for them last year. He was the best center in football.
But still, is it elite? No. But it'll be better, at least for the sake of Joe Burrow. But regardless, move on to the next division. We'll get to the AFC East, which honestly to me is the toughest division besides what we just covered, the AFC North. Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Now, if DeAndre Hopkins were to sign with the Patriots and you had Dalvin Cook sign with the Patriots, maybe we can have an argument. Patriots are the worst team in this division. But who's winning this division, Sam Flannel?
The New York Jets. As I've said numerous times, I mean, that list agrees. I mean, they have Aaron Rodgers listed as the 4th best quarterback in the NFL, and I don't know if he's going to hit those heights this year, but it wouldn't shock me at all. I keep saying this, and I just don't get why people don't understand, is that the New York Jets were a competitive team last year for the most part, even into later on into the last year. Without Breece Hall, he went down, and with Zach Wilson, Mike White, and the dead body of Joe Flacco as their quarterback. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers, they might have upgraded at quarterback better than any other team in the NFL when you look at other teams that upgraded. I think it's not even close. And Aaron Rodgers, think about this. You've got Garrett Wilson to throw the ball to. You have Breece Hall in the backfield coming back from injury. You've got one of his old safety blanket targets in Allen Lazard, who I actually think will be valuable for the Jets, albeit not great, but valuable. On the defense, you got Quinnen Williams all locked up for a long-term deal. For a long-term deal, about to have the same impact that he did last year. I expect double-digit sacks, double-digit tackles for loss, and 20-plus quarterback hits. You've got Sauce Gardner, who walked into the NFL on day one and was the best cornerback in the league, at least by the numbers. We could argue for guys like Jalen Ramsey, but still, who was first-team All-Pro? It was Sauce freaking Gardner. And you got DJ Reed on the other side, who you really love, Lucas Klotz. And at the linebacking core, it is led by maybe another future gold jacket guy in CJ Mosley. This idea that the New York Jets are being dismissed as a team that will implode, oh, it's just going to be just like Brett Favre when he went to the Jets. Except Brett Favre was a fucking interception machine. He threw the same amount of interceptions as touchdowns in his time in the New York Jets. If you try to compare Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre's interceptions, I will destroy you. I will destroy your life and everything you know.
Last year, technically, I mean, he did throw a ton of interceptions, but he's not an interception machine. I'm not going to say that. But you know what I will say, though? I'll bring up the Jet schedule. You want to do that?
Yeah,
let's have fun.
It's got some tough games.
Oh, we'll start.
Start of the Bills.
They got a brutal start of their schedule.
Bills, Dallas, New England, Kansas City, Denver, Philly, New York, Chargers. So out of those first 9 weeks, I could see about 4 or 5 of them, I'm picking the opposing team. I mean, they go against Buffalo week 1. I got Buffalo. They take on Dallas. To me, that's a toss-up. New England, okay, I'll give them the Jets. Kansas City, give me Kansas City. Traveling to Denver, nah. At home against Philly, I'll take Philly. You see why even at the beginning of the year for the Jets is going to be tough. And I think the Jets defensively, they have all the pieces in place. And if Aaron Rodgers can return back to 2 years ago with Nathaniel Hackett now as OC, then yeah, the Jets are going to be a threat. I like the Dolphins. I like the Bills as well. I think they're kind of in the same tier. The only thing that I question about the Dolphins is Tua's health. If Tua can stay healthy, they're going to be a legitimate threat. But to me, the Bills are winning this thing again. I'm sorry, they are. The Bills are taking this thing home again. Josh Allen's too damn good. There's already rapport there. Aaron in New York, I cannot wait. I cannot wait when they start the season 1-2, and New York is just going crazy for Aaron Rodgers. I can't wait. I'm going to be here for it. I'll have my popcorn. I'll be watching the Lions. I'll be here for it. But give me the Bills to win that division. Give me the Bills, Lucas.
I'm going Fins. Dolphins. They are going – look, I think Tyreek Hill goes for 2,000 yards this year. Do you guys agree? He has the full capability to. If they would have had their starting quarterback in Tua for 17 weeks, he would have had 2,000 yards this year.
I think he'll have like between 1,500 and 1,800, but it's not crazy.
Okay, so but me personally, I think he reaches that this year. And the thing that I like more about this team than anything is this secondary and this defense. And the one thing that I was worried about Miami is when it gets cold and they got to travel to Buffalo and they got to play Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Well, I'm not really worried about it as much anymore when you have the secondary. When you have Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, it's going to be really hard for Josh Allen to throw into any window on the field. And when you have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips getting after him the whole time, I think this is the year. The Bills have won it the last 3 seasons, 4 seasons. It's got to stop eventually, and I think this is the year that he does it. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have trouble against this secondary in particular. So I like the Dolphins more than anybody in this division.
And the Dolphins, even with like Skylar Thompson at quarterback, gave teams some trouble.
They were giving the Bills a run for their money in the playoffs with Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, so I think the Miami Dolphins is fair. I just can't bank on it because Tua. I just don't.
Yeah, you got to see it first.
That's the big no, because you're right on paper. The Dolphins, you could argue, are the best team in this division on paper, but we shall see moving forward. There you have it. We'll go to break when we get back. I want to look at some of these Madden ratings. Get some reactions to that. We'll get to what's trending, and then, of course, we'll get to mailbag. But before we do that, Sam, could you tell everybody about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered. Whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool, your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at SwissINS.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177 Swiss Insurance.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network. We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf as it is now open inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. That is 5irongolf.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're on our YouTube channel, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's try to get to 100 likes on the stream. And again, if you can't watch live, you can re-listen to the show on Apple, Spotify, any podcast app you listen to. If you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, and much more. But now, I want to react to the Madden ratings for the Detroit Lions because those came out. I know nobody really gives a damn, but we have to discuss these for a second here. Lucas, do you have some of the ratings?
Do you want wide receiver or the safeties first?
Okay. So they came out with the ratings. If you guys didn't see them already, here are some of them here. And as you can see, we had our top 10 wide receiver list we did last week. This is Madden's top 10. Now they're in the 11 to 20 range now. You have CeeDee Lamb at 11, Mike Evans at 12, Keenan Allen at 13. Again, CeeDee's 90, Mike's a 90, Keenan's an 89, Debo's an 89. 15, Tyler Lockett's an 89. 16, Mike Williams is an 88. DK, 88 at 17. 18, Jalen Waddle at 88. And coming in at 19, the 19th ranked receiver in Madden, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then at 20, obviously, Devonta Smith at 87. Now, when you see these ratings, I don't give a damn because this to me doesn't rank the best wide receivers. This ranks attributes. And for Madden, it's speed. It's when you have elite whatever it is, your ratings go up. You have a higher rating. So for Amon-Ra, he doesn't have elite speed. He doesn't have elite deep route running ability. When you look at ratings, I guess Amon-Ra is not a Madden receiver, but we know in the NFL where you have to produce, he produces. So these don't really matter to me, Sam Flannel.
I would agree with you.
But he does deserve respect.
And that is 100% fair because even though Amon-Ra St. Brown is at number 19 on this list, I think tied with Devonta Smith, I still have him as a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I have him at number 10 on my list. And the reason why is because what he has done in his short career. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In his first 2 seasons, he is tied for the most receptions of any NFL player in their first 2 seasons at 196 with Michael Thomas and Justin Jefferson. And when it comes to Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think his ticket to the Hall of Fame one day is to have 1,000 career catches, which I think only 14 players in NFL history have done that. And in Amon-Ra St. St. Brown is closer after his first 2 seasons than any of the players who currently have 1,000 are in their first 2 seasons. So that is insane. And last season, he was one of 7 wide receivers to have both 100 receptions and over 1,000 yards. So Amon-Ra St. Brown 100% deserves to be a top 10 wide receiver. But when we're talking Madden, and this is so funny because when I look at this, I'm not what I would say outraged at a lot of the people that they have ahead of them. I think it just speaks to how talented and deep the wide receiver position is in the NFL. I mean, they got Jalen Waddle ahead of him. He's got elite speed. You've got DK Metcalf, who I'd say is a more physically talented player. He's got better size and better speed. You've got Tyler Lockett, who has had 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. You have Deebo Samuel, who last year obviously had a down year, an injury-plagued year. But what he did the year before, I would argue in 2021, he was the most deadly offensive weapon in the NFL. And I don't think anybody can be outraged at Deebo Samuel, at least in Madden, being rated over Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right.
But the bottom line is Madden doesn't really mean a whole lot of shit. It's what you do on the field, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, it just shows me that he is getting the most out of his talent and then some. And that's what I love about him and why I trust him to be consistently great for his entire career.
Well, this comment, too, I think is spot on. Andrew Klingerman says he's got elite hands. Well,
He
hands,
does,
100%.
absolutely.
He has elite hands. But Lucas, I guess, for Madden standards, he's not a top 10 receiver, but I don't really give a
but
damn.
an 87 is disrespectful. Terry McLaurin's a 92.
Yeah, he should be 90.
So, like,
Amon-Ra
the
should be
fact
90.
that you can find something, the man has great acceleration, route running, hands, balance, body control. There is something that you can do besides knock this guy's speed down to make him an 87. Like, I understand he doesn't run a 4.4, but he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL, and you're just gonna slide him past Keenan Allen at this point is just disrespectful. And I love Keenan. Keenan's one of my favorite receivers ever. But this was just a disrespectful rating.
Broder says, I know where you're going with that flannel, and I happen to agree with you, but I think we may need to increase the total numbers going forward since receivers will have 17 games of stats versus 16 games of stats.
No, and that is 100% fair because you presume that other players who are playing in the NFL right now will also get to 1,000 catches, like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, guys like that. So, but at the same time, if you accumulate 1,000 catches in your NFL career, I would assume that Amon-Ra St. Brown would have multiple Pro Bowls, maybe multiple second-team All-Pros, maybe a couple first-team All-Pros. So that's all gets taken into account.
You know what gets taken into account, too? An elite defense, which I got one for you. It's Guardian Alarm. They got customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring, and they got technology backed by people. All you got to do is call the number 1-800-STAY-OUT. Protect your home today. Again, call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you. When we get back, we'll get in the mailbag. Get your questions ready.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks for tuning in with us all morning on this Tuesday morning. We're happy to have you here. And while you're here, like and subscribe if you're watching on the website. Check out our articles and merchandise. If you're listening via podcast, download this episode and leave a 5-star review. Then go follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports.
It's time for What's Trending with Lucas. What do you got for us, Lucas?
Oh, yeah. And before we do that, we're at 98 likes. We have 521 people in
We're
here,
at
so
100.
2 of you. Oh, we're at 100?
Yep.
Oh, just updated. All right, we're all good. But, all right. So we just talked about wide receiver rankings, and I tend to disagree with a lot of people that have Justin Jefferson as the #1 wide receiver in the league. I think one day he will be, but not quite yet. And Patrick Surtain had something to say about this.
Who is the toughest matchup? I mean, every wide receiver is a tough matchup, but you know, like, man, let's go. It's game time.
I go against all types of receivers, quick receivers, big receivers, fast receivers, agile receivers, whatever. I say the best I went against all around is probably
Devontae, no question.
Yeah, I think he's a technician at his game. Obviously, he's been in the league for a long time, a savvy veteran. So I think that's my best matchup.
And this just speaks to my point even more. I love Justin Jefferson, but Davante Adams, I think, has a lot of the Jalen Ramsey effect right now. They're both at the top of their games, but people just want to buy into the younger guy that they're seeing do new things that they haven't seen before. I think Davante Adams is #1 wide receiver, and I just want to open the floor to you guys and kind of get why you already think Justin Jefferson has overtook Davante Adams, even though he led the NFL in receiving touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and Patrick said it, the savviness, him being a veteran, I understand that. Like, his experience in the game and what he can do. He's a technician. The only thing he has, though, is Justin Jefferson just finished his 3rd season. Mm-hmm. So think about it because right now Davante's 30 years old. He's been in the league for 8 years. So give Justin Jefferson 5 more years to get to where he get to. I'm sure he'll have a lot of extra tricks that he's learned over the last. I agree with you that Davante puts fear into people's eyes, but right now to say that Davante's better than Justin Jefferson,
it's facts.
I wouldn't say that, but I understand why Patrick's #1 argument is his veteran, his savviness. He's a technician. Like, yeah, he's been in the league. Davante's seen pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. Like, Justin hasn't. He's his 3rd season last season. So I think that's where Davante has the edge on Justin Jefferson, is the experience. He's seen everything. So in corners, like, he's seen a lot of Patrick Surtains. Like, he has. Yeah. Justin hasn't. But trust me, Justin Jefferson through 3 seasons, almost 5,000 yards.
It's insane.
That is insane, dude. Like, that's why he's the best to me. But if you say Davante, cool. I mean, I'm not mad at it. He's 2, so we're pulling hairs at this point.
Flannel, JB, Gabby, any differing opinions?
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not even mad at you if you want to put Davante Adams over Justin Jefferson right now. I love Davante Adams. I think that he is, without a doubt, it might even be 1A and 1B or whatever, just because of what Davante Adams has basically done in his career ever since he got a chance to play with MVP Aaron Rodgers in the last year with Derek Carr. But Justin Jefferson, it's not just that he's a young guy doing new things. In his first 3 seasons, he has over 4,800 receiving yards. The next closest in their first 3 seasons is Randy Moss, who had about 4,100. Justin Jefferson has had the greatest 3-year stretch to start his career of any wide receiver ever by those numbers.
And if you think about it, too, I mean, Davante Adams didn't get 1,000 yards till his 5th season.
Yeah,
so,
Davante
Adams
he's a late
had the
bloomer. Dropsies coming out. That's why I love Davante even more, because it's like people written him off and he turned himself into the best.
And also, I mean, Davante was a 2nd-round pick. So, again, I just think the trajectory of Justin Jefferson has been insane. And I think give him more time, he's just going to continue to get better. That's my argument. But, again, if you have Davante, cool.
JB, you have any opposing thoughts?
No, I think you guys are spot on as well, too. I just think Justin Jefferson is, as you said, Jeff, on that high trajectory right now. He just has so many highs. He hasn't had any lows just yet in his career, which will come in time. It'll see. But Davante, as you said, he's that savvy vet who's seen everything, who knows a lot more out there on the field than Justin Jefferson does as of right now. It'll come in time, but I'm still putting Davante 1 over Justin Jefferson, but it's so close.
JB knows ball.
And the other thing, too, and this isn't just to discredit Davante, so I don't want you to run with this, but Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's had Kirk Cousins to work with, and he's still producing. Kirk's fine. He puts up stats, but we can't deny Aaron Rodgers throwing you the football is great.
Yeah, but
it is amazing.
What he did this year with how Derek Carr and Jared stood him.
What he did this year, he did
why
prove.
I'm like, you can't take that crown yet.
I'm not saying it diminishes it, but Justin Jefferson, his first 3 years, has only had Kirk.
Is
that fair? Like, that's. But again, we're pulling hairs. But anyway, move on. What do you else?
So you kind of touched on it earlier, Jeff. Le'Veon Bell was in the news, and this is what he had. Some Steelers fan hit him up on Snapchat, and then Le'Veon decided to go on to say this.
I never apologize to the fans for really sitting out or leaving the Steelers. I never apologize. So I'm going to say I apologize for leaving the best damn fans there is in this damn world. I shouldn't have left. I apologize. I should never have left. I apologize. That's my fault. That's on me.
Hey.
I shouldn't have left.
Le'Veon Bell, like, hey, man, you shouldn't have left? Well, damn, the sky's blue. Like, we know that, dude. Like, everybody knows that you should not have left. This doesn't surprise me. I mean, even when he first was sitting out, we were all like, yeah, you sure, Le'Veon Bell? You want, what was it, reportedly $14 million or something like that he wanted annually? And
went and played with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and he went and played with Sam Darnold, and that was all she wrote.
Maybe call me a bad person, because maybe this is going to make me sound like a bad person, but I kind of, because a lot of people, when they hold out, when they want more money, it's just like, you fight the power, you go against those greedy owners or whatnot. So the fact that it didn't work out for Le'Veon Bell, he went from being first-team All-Pro to a holdout to basically terrible and finished after that, kind of is a cautionary tale, I would say. Holding out is not always the right move. It certainly was not for Le'Veon Bell. He fell off hard.
Yeah, fell off a cliff.
What Lion player do you think, if there was ever, that feels like that left, that really should never have left? Like, they thought they would go more because they were leaving Detroit and bigger, better futures, but honestly fell off a cliff. Is there any, besides Kenny Galladay?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm going to be honest, that was really where my mind immediately went to, was Kenny Galladay. Because Kenny Galladay, and that was the big argument when Brad got brought in, is should they resign Kenny? They let him go. They got the compensatory pick, and he was never the same, and he's still a free agent. So talk about from the skies to the ground. That's Kenny Galladay's career after he left Matthew Stafford. I think that's the most recent memory of that. Sue, people mentioning Sue. Sue was a very different player in Detroit than he was after he got paid. But he still ended up winning a Super Bowl. He was still a contributor, but still, to the people's point, when he left Detroit, he was never that guy. He was when he was in Detroit.
One that's being mentioned too is Roy Williams. And I thought that Roy Williams was honestly going to work out in Dallas, but he clearly did not. Roy Williams is the classic example of a one-year wonder.
Jamal Williams could be the next. We'll see.
Yeah, that's almost like a positive for me. There's no way that dude's sniffing 17 touchdowns ever again.
Can't believe when you look at the record books, you're going to see Jamal Williams. that pisses me. I don't know why that just pisses me off. Instead of seeing Barry, you're going to see Jamal Williams. It is what it is. You got anything else for us, Lucas?
We can touch on this real quick. This just made, I want to get over-under for Dak Prescott interception line. He said, I won't have 10 interception this year. And this man is smoking meth right now, and he says this, obviously. He's a QB-riddled or interception-riddled QB. What do you think over-under for Dak Prescott interceptions line is this year? It's 10. We'll just call it 10. Are you going over or under?
Over. You know what's crazy to think, too? Dak Prescott averages, I think it was 9.2 interceptions a season. So this man's saying he won't throw 10 interceptions this season. Well, bud, you average 10, almost, 9.2. So 0.8 under 10. No. He's throwing 10 interceptions.
I mean, but what I keep hearing about Dak Prescott, you guys act like he throws like 17, 18 a year. He's had 2 full seasons in which he has thrown 4 and 8 respectively. He's not as much of a turnover machine for his career as you guys would think, although last year it certainly was a hindrance to him. I would say over. I think he'll have 11 or 12, but it won't even be that big of a deal.
Dude's having 15 interceptions.
Stop it.
There's like Amari Cooper is what really kept those interceptions down for him, and now he's losing Zeke, and he's got to bring in running back from Kansas State.
Deuce Vaughn.
Deuce Vaughn. You're going to rely on him to be your little safety blanket when Dak Prescott isn't playing well?
Well, my problem, too, is it's not even just about the interceptions he's going to throw. It's the touchdown to interception ratio. Like, Josh throws 15, but he also has almost 40 touchdowns a year. Like, how many touchdowns is Dak throwing? If you throw 17 again, you better have 45 touchdowns. Because if you have another 25, you look like a dipshit.
There's nothing in his career that would indicate that he'll throw 40. But you guys are acting like it's going to – what is this touchdown to interception ratio going to be? Like 14, 19? Is that what you all think? Probably something like that?
I'm
14
going 15.
TDs?
I'm going 15 at the minimum.
15 at the minimum?
At the minimum.
Probably to like 13 touchdowns as well because he's such a garbage bum, right?
No,
he's
not.
Eon's worse than Jared Goff, right?
No, he's not. But coming off last season, Jared Goff is better at this point.
1,000%.
But we'll see.
Agree.
We'll see. Maybe Dak can bounce back this season.
Guys. Come on now. Dak is not going to throw 10 interceptions, okay? He's going to throw 16.
There we go. JB knows.
We need like a siren. Like,
JB like
after JB just drops that bar. Is that all you got for us,
Yeah,
Lucas?
that's it for today.
I appreciate you, man. We'll go to break. When we get back, get your questions ready. We'll answer all of them. Me, Lucas, JB, Gabby, Lucas, whoever you nab. Sam, just ask the questions. We'll get to them. Get to as many as we can. But before we do that, JB, can you tell us about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, absolutely, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with that refreshing summer splash salad. But do not leave without getting some dessert because they have their very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep-fried vanilla Oreos, and of course that strawberry hot fudge cake, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's time for Mailbag. Get your questions ready, and we'll try to get to as many as we can here. And we just got done talking about the Madden ratings and before what's trending with Lucas, and now we got done talking about Dak Prescott throwing less than 10 interceptions, which, you know, hey, if you want to put your money on that, go ahead. Not sure if it's smart money, but hey, put your money where you want to put it. Mailbag, It Hips asks, what would you consider 3 games on the Lions' schedule that you would say are must-wins for them in order to show the world that it's not just hype and they are a team that will win the North? 3 games the Lions should win. Well, I'll start week 1. Go out and beat the Chiefs. And if it's not week 1, then week 2. I think week 1 and 2 are the most important games for the Lions, specifically with Dan Campbell because of how they started in September. That's important. But the other part of that is you're facing back-to-back playoff teams that I think will be playoff teams. So you want to set the tone? Week 1 and week 2. Go win one of them. Whether it's the Chiefs or if you lose to the Chiefs in a close fashion or however you lose, go home and beat the Seahawks. That's how you get the NFL to take you seriously. So those would be my 2 games. The third game, I mean, who cares? I think the first 2 games are the most important. I do.
Yeah, I would probably say I've got 3 actually picked out off the top of my head. I would say week 2 against Seattle. I think that the Lions are going to lose at Kansas City, but you've got to then go home, beat Seattle at home, and avenge the loss from last season. I got at Green Bay. I want them to go into Green Bay facing Jordan Love and absolutely throttle them and put to bed any thought that the Green Bay Packers, it's still their division. And then I want them, I know this is a game that they're favored in, but I need them to really pound Carolina. Avenge what Carolina did last year, basically ruining their playoff chances. Go out, play a rookie quarterback, and just slaughter them. Those are my 3.
Yeah, another one interesting would be that Thanksgiving game.
Oh, yeah.
Because even last year, I was there. I've been there the last, 3 years. Have not seen a win on Thanksgiving. Go win a damn game on Thanksgiving. There you go. That'll help your national opinion at least. We'll get to some more of these. The away fan mailbag. Did you guys know the Tigers won last night and that football isn't for months? Hockey season will return soon. Thank you. Yeah, well, the away fan, we are aware the Tigers won. We are aware they're 5 games out of their division. Hockey season will return soon. But people want to talk football.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And we will, of course, talk Red Wings, of course, talk Tigers when the time is necessary. But this is, if you didn't know the away fan, it is a football town. So we can't spend too much on anything. And listen, basketball is in that conversation too. So football is king, unfortunately and fortunately at the same time. Let's see. Funky says week 2 is the most important game no matter what happens week 1. It's how they're going to respond. That is huge. Yeah, that's 100% true, Funky. Jake says, Millsack, Madden's ratings for y'all. Juicy at 90 with the elite hair. JB Elite drops, should get him at least an 89. Flannel is 77, question mark?
Jesus. That's all right. Wait a second. Jake Wegner, if you were a chat Madden, I would give you about a 50. So that's what I say to that.
Lucas, I think Lucas would be like an 80.
I'm in the 99 club with the gold cleats. Hanging me up there with Aaron Donald, Justin Jefferson, and Clayton Tune.
According
and
to
Sam
yourself.
Life with Cool. Jeff, do you still wish we took Whitmore over Thompson after Summer League? No, I don't. There's a lot of questions with Whitmore, and I think Asar Thompson has a higher ceiling, especially as a defender. The dude he's special. I like Asar a lot. Now, if you want to argue Marcus Sasser over Cam Whitmore, if you want to trade up a little farther and get Cam, maybe, but not Cam over Asar. I won't go that far.
Ain't no way.
Jesse says, Mailbag, do we get Inside the Den this week now that Gibbs is signed? I really hope so. I do. I would love an Inside the Den. I think it's about time. And they did say mid-July, so any one of these days it should be coming out. Let's see. Mailbag Sam, what do you think about the story with Benjamin St. Juiced coming out of him ripping on Michigan's medical staff? I don't think you're informed of that.
Don't care.
Okay.
I might look into it later. It might be something I should care about, but as of now, I mean.
Jack Harrington, why can't you say Dak's name right, Jeff? Rain Dakota Prescott. Yeah, that is true, Jack. You have to address him by Rain, not Dak. Rain. That is his name. Just like he's going to rain on the parade of Cowboys fans this season. Can't wait.
Wolverine
Elite. Inside the Den is due. Yeah, 100% agree with that. Jesse Adams, what movie are you guys going to see first, Oppenheimer or Barbie? I know JB is going to see Oppenheimer. Jeff and Gabby are going to see Barbie. No, that is not true. I might see Oppenheimer, actually. My buddy mentioned that.
The hell is Oppenheimer?
Yeah, it's about, like, the atomic bomb being created and all that. I'm cool. I'll probably go check that out. No to Barbie. Not seeing Barbie. Unless it's with, my significant other, then I'm forced to see Barbie. But no, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it on my own. No way, no how.
I'll be seeing both.
You'll be seeing both.
Yeah, not just Barbie. Come on.
Okay.
I probably got to see both too.
Sam, you checking out Barbie?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
What's Ryan Gosling doing being Ken? He's too good of an actor for that.
Needs a bag.
Yeah.
You know how much money they're going to make off this
Hey.
movie? It's going to be absurd.
I understand.
Sam, pause, but you know why Ryan Gosling's playing Ken. You know why.
Oh,
Margot Robbie.
You know
the
why.
punani that follows is probably crazy.
Just saying. Cobezilla says Oppenheimer is historical. You should go see it. You should be going to see it. Yeah, I will definitely be checking out Oppenheimer. What do we got? One more question before we leave now. Oh, here. Jamcat, Flannel Mailbag. Are you going to be an insufferable U of M fan and make the morning show terrible for Spartans to watch?
Abso-fucking-lutely. You know what? I love Michigan and Michigan football. Thank you, JB. It is my favorite sport. It is my obsession. But the one thing I enjoy more than Michigan and Michigan football, Michigan basketball is watching Sparty fans suffer and cry. And I can't wait to see that this season when they go 4-8 and Mel Tucker gets fired.
Oh, jeez. Well, you know what? That's why I'm here, although I'm not a State or Michigan fan. There's balance on this show. There's the Michigan man in Sam Flannel, but then there's everybody else who aren't Michigan men or State men. I don't think anybody's a fan of either, unless I'm wrong. Anybody? No.
Bucks,
Okay.
baby.
Well, you're on an island, Sam, so can't wait for that. It'll be fun. Thank you, guys. We're gonna end the show here. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in, choosing us this morning on this Tuesday morning. Before you leave, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We got a good show planned for you guys tomorrow. We had some segments planned for today, but we're going to move them till tomorrow. You're going to want to be there for that. From Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz, we thank you. And until tomorrow, we'll see you then.